Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rachad Kodash. That belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. True well, salutations to the whole field elect out there, Yoakim to Zadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the pre-Shaman, this week's topic is going to be the Curses Are Undefeated, Part 3. So we're just going to finish up the rest of the Deuteronomy 28 chapter. In this 3-part series on just pretty much the curses on our people, the people being the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, on their father's lineage. And we left off at verse 49. So Deuteronomy 28 and 49 reads, "The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth." Right, so going to the so-called white man, the Roman Empire, and the American Empire, really, as well, came against us. Okay, this is nothing more than a rebirth of the Roman Empire, and that's what the so-called, that's the animal that's synonymous with the so-called white man, an eagle. All right, that's what they adopt. You had the Roman eagle, you had the American eagle, and you had even the so-called Russian. I mean, a lot of these Edomites, they pick up the eagle. Okay, it says, "Flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand." Right, came over here on cargo slave ships, all right, to serve hardcore bondage, and we didn't understand the tongue. Reading on, it says 50, "A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young." We all got put up in shackles and chains, man. All right, so-called white man is going to have to pay for that. You know, Colossians 3 and 25 tells you that. All right, and the Most High did not forget, "He that leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity." That's what it says in the book of Revelations, 3rd chapter and the 9th verse, and the 2nd chapter and the 9th verse. I believe they both 3 and 9 and 2 and 9. 51, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed. Yeah, the so-called white man took over our land, which also shall not leave the either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks, or thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. Yeah, man. You also have the situation in 70 AD. All right, that siege, that Titus, Vespasian, Domitian, that whole line of Edomites completely just, stomped Israel down to the ground. That's why we had to flee out of Israel into different parts of Africa and things like that, man. It says 52, "And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls thou trusted, until thy high and fenced wall thou trusted throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai thy power hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters." You know, that really did happen too for a period of Jake cannibalism. It says, "Which the Lord thy power hath given thee in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee." 54, "So that the man that is tender among you," this is what germinated the entire lesson. This verse right here, really. It says, "So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother." And when I say this verse germinated the entire lesson, was because, like I said, if you didn't see part 1, I was watching Myron Gaines' podcast. He was live, and he was at the University of Pennsylvania, and the Edomite was asking, like, why are black people this way? You know, like they're so violent towards each other. Like, you know, when so-called white people listen to rap music, they don't do this, you know. Like he was like trying to get it. He was like, even when they're amongst themselves, and then, you know, Myron is a stat guy, he goes in all the stats, you know, the high violence Jake got on Jake, and they just, you know, they was saying it's IQ. So-called white man could have been a racist Edomite, so more than likely, yeah. So he's just like, it's just them, but they don't understand. It's a curse on our people. That's why Jake behaved this way. You know, I'm not saying it like, oh, it's a scapegoat. No, it's literally the Most High put a curse on our people, all right, to have an evil eye towards each other. This is how come Jake tense up more at night when they see other Jakes. They don't really tense up when they see another Edomite or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You typically don't cross the street. For example, if a group of Edomites is walking up to you at night, you cross the street when you see a bunch of Jakes walking up to you at night. You know? It says, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Damn. You know, and shit, don't even get us started on the fatherless homes, which, again, the white man, so-called white man, did play a huge factor in that. We went into the welfare system and these things, all right, breaking up family homes, incentivizing women to rely on the government and not a healthy marriage, you see? 55, it says, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left. Wait a minute, read it again. Verse 55, it says, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left. Because he has nothing left. It says he has nothing left him in, wait, what? That's so tricky right there. Whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege, and in the straightness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. It says, 56, a tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set her sole of her foot upon the ground, for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom. Our women come against us, and our women are not delicate anymore. The black woman, the so-called black woman, very masculine, walking around in fucking combat boots, and see apostles always bring out. We just fall, man. We've just fell. We're fucked up, you know. So-called nigga women, for the majority, they're like overweight, got hit with the scalp on the edge, short hair. Pardon me, you know, just hit. They even go get them surgeries, still can't save their ass. Revert right back to the body being rent and all that shit. It says, her eye shall be evil towards her husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter. So-called nigga woman's evil, have an evil eye towards our own family. This is real shit going on, man. You see, and this is the explanation to it. Yahweh Shem Yahshai set it up this way. Why? Because we went the hell off, man, worshiping these other idols, and we're paying for it from generation to generation. 57, and towards her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and towards her children, which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all thy, for all things secretly in the siege, and straightness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. It says, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in the book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua thy power, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plague of thy seed even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness of long continuance. And this, yeah, I mean, diabetes, All these different things hitting Jake, man. Cancer. 60. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. So you can't escape the curses. You can't fly to some random part in the world and think, if you're an Israelite, it's gonna pursue you at some point or another. It says 61. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And you know what? It's all set up in the spirit that we were gonna go off anyway. We had to know both sides. You know, it was never set up or ordained that we were gonna keep these things perfect. And serve the Lord perfectly, because remember, the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua judges the nation as a whole. So even the righteous Israelites still have to go through this, even if they didn't do this, you know, because you're always gonna have the remnant. You're always gonna have the men that's gonna cleave, the men and women that's gonna cleave to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua no matter what. But again, the Most High judges the nation as a whole. That's how come the prophets are going to it. That's how come through it is the curses as well. And you know, King David, a man of the elect, went into captivity with us. So that's what it is. It was set up that way. We had to know both sides. We have to know good and evil. That way we could be perfect judges in the kingdom when we rule. And 62. And he shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of the heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua thy power. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you. Holy shit, see that right there? All right, so when we was going through slavery and shit, the Lord was like, they told your ass. It says, and to bring you to naught, and he shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And this also came to pass. We're the real Israelites, okay? The real people of the Lord are not in their Holy Land. The people that are in the Holy Land now, so-called Jews, those are Amalekites, Edomites. What about the Arabs, the Palestinians? Those are Elamites, okay? Arab is mixture. It's a mixture of Ishmaelites and Elamites, all right? But it's a lot of Elamites and Ishmaelites. They're all fighting over that land that don't belong to them, all right? That land belonged to us. We took that shit, okay? And the Most High promised us that land. So if the right people were in that land, there wouldn't be any wars right now. Okay, you have them so-called Israelis over there. Guess what? They walk around, all right, with guns and shit next to them, because they have to all serve. So how you in your kingdom? How is that? You know what I'm saying? How you the people of the Lord? You all gotta walk around with guns and shit. 64 says, and the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth, even unto the other end, even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy father have known, even wood and stone. So that's how come we say Jake is scattered. Our people are scattered all throughout these different nations, worshiping and doing stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? Unknowingly, you know. It was prophesied. 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua shall give thee there a troubling heart, and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in the doubt, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear. And thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. That's what I'm talking about, man. You know, that's how most Jakes live, you know, in different ghettos and shit like that, not knowing what the next day might bring. 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would the Most High were evening, and at evening thou shalt say, would the Most High it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the 68th verse is iconic at this point. That proves that we're the people of the Lord. Verse 68, Deuteronomy 28 and 68, it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. So when did this come to pass? When we were brought over here on cargo slave ships to America. All right, Revelations 11 and 8 speaks about a place that is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. This is America. Why? It's spiritually Egypt. It's a, you know, they have Memphis, all these. It upholds all the ancient deities of Egypt, and it's also, you know, the only captivity wherein the tribes were in captivity together. I'm talking about the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. It's ancient Egypt and modern day Egypt. And there's no account of the Israelites going back into Egypt again with ships. So it was us being brought over here on cargo slave ships. It says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, that thou shalt see it no more again, our holy land. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies. Who else is this fit, man? We were on auction blocks. Okay? That whole NFL draft you see today is the same shit going on back, but we wasn't getting no contracts or nothing like that. You a strong buck, okay, put him in the field. See what I'm saying? That's what was going on. And ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondman and bondwoman, and no man shall buy you. Buy meaning redeem, buy us back, redeem us from this captivity. You see? So we endured that. 400 years, hardcore bondage in ancient Egypt. Another couple hundred years here in the modern day Egypt. So this is how come we are in the situation we are. That's why we went through what we went through. But, you know, better days are ahead. You know, the kingdom of heaven approaches. And we're doing all that we can to make sure that we're in the good graces of the Lord to be the first fruits of that, which is doing this work, teaching and help, prophesying to our people. Hope you brothers and sisters were edified. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashim Rachah Kodash. That belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim to Zadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.